It is always my pleasure to introduce my very good friend, Reverend Peggy Konkel. Reverend Peggy and I met in 2005 when she came to Unity of Blue Water in Port Huron to interview for our senior minister position. And we started to work together because at that time I was a licensed teacher in the church and also I took over the youth ministry. And we just started a relationship and a friendship that's now lasted 20 years. Even though there were times when she wasn't still in Michigan, we managed to stay in touch with each other. And she has been a great mentor to me, a great source of inspiration and guidance. And I'm really grateful to have her in my life as my friend and as a fellow minister. So please help me welcome to the platform Reverend Peggy Konkel. Did I mess your stuff up?
Well, hey. Uh, so good, grand, glorious morning.
Morning to you.
Are we feeling peaceful?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That snow, I got up this morning at 4 o'clock. Not exactly when I wanted to get up, but it's when I got up. But I got my dog out for his walk this morning at 6:30, 6:45, when it was still dark, and you could see the moon through the haze and the snowflakes falling, and everything was quiet and peace. That's that outer peace. But today I want to talk about more than that outer peace, because we know what we manifest on the outer comes from within. So I want to talk a little bit about that inner peace. Today I also want to acknowledge is the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, which was for our nation a time when we thought of war and we thought of the idea of conflict, and we were not feeling very peaceful. And that is that outer peace is lost with that conflict. It is said that the definition of peace is that absence of war and that absence of conflict. But I want you to think a little deeper level that peace is far more than just the absence. So I put together a little bit of this, what peace is not and what peace is. And what I have learned to do, one of the tools that I use is I'm a word person, so I like to take letters and words and they help me to bring forth more ideas in my mind. So you might hear the theme of peace going through here. So what peace is not is when I'm puzzling over problems. When I'm in that sense that I gotta fix it somehow. There's a problem there and I gotta fix it. When I'm in that place, I'm not in a place of peace. Peace is when I can look at a problem and I can know that there is already a solution in that problem. If I step back and let it go and be in that place of letting go and letting God, then I'm in that place of peace. Peace is not when I feel perplexed about how others think and why don't they think like I, or why don't they do what I would do. And that is that place of not being in that place of just loving what is, of accepting. The power is always there. The possibilities are always there. And when we open up to those possibilities, we're in that peace. Peace is not when I'm posturing for recognition, where I'm in that place of ego, and when I'm in that place where I want you to look at me, see what I can do, see who I am. because I'm in that place where I'm not feeling worthy about myself. But peace is when I have that confidence and I know that I have been given everything I need and I am doing what the Christ within me has asked me to do. I'm in that place of peace. It doesn't matter what the outer world thinks of me when I'm in that place of knowing that I am connected to that will of God. Peace is not pointing out differences in the way that we often do, where we other people, where we're going to that place where you're different because, whether it is your skin, whether it is your gender, whether it is your age. Peace is when we can look at each individual and know that they are part of the beauty, of the power, of the oneness that humanity is. Peace is not politicizing, lifting something up and using it as something to get your own way, to get the way that you think things should be. No, peace comes when we're in that place of accepting and acknowledging that there's more than one way. We often say that what we really want is a world that works for all. Well, if we're all different and we want it to work our way, how's that working for all? Tell me, how does that work? I don't know. And does that leave you in a peaceful place?
You just need to see my way.
Peace is not when you're in that place where you're trying to prevent somebody to doing something you don't want them to do. You're in there, you're needling. How's that peaceful? Where's the peace in that? Peace is not in people pleasing. I don't know about you, but I really have a trouble with people pleasing. Trying to do something that I think that you want me to do so that you will like me, or so that my life will run smoother for whatever reason. I'm not at peace. If I have put what I want on your shoulders, if I haven't taken responsibility for my own needs, that is not peaceful. Peace is not when I want to possess something. It's mine. It's mine. You're mine. It's my dog. It's my daughter. It's my family. It's mine. I'm not peaceful because they don't want to be mine. They want to be themselves. They want to be in my life. And I want them in my life. And when I see them as wanting them in my life and not trying to possess them, then I find peace. Peace is not power grabbing, trying to be better than, have more than, put somebody down for. That is not peaceful. It does not leave you in a state of peace, because there is no such thing as power grabbing. We all have the same power. We may want to give away our power, and that again is our responsibility. But nobody can take that God power from us. Nobody can take our spirit from us. They may take a lot of things from us physically, but they can't take our spirit. Peace does not come when we're projecting onto others. Whatever is going on in our life is their fault. Again, when we project what's going on in ourselves, we're not in that place of peace. We don't own what's going on. We don't take it to that space. Peace is not when we're persecuting someone else, when we're punishing them. Peace comes when we align with them, when we lift them up. And peace is not when we're in pain. We may have physical pain. We may have emotional pain. But if we want to get to peace, we have to get past that. We have to get to that place of forgiveness. Peace is possessing your own emotions, posing open and loving questions, thinking pure thoughts, looking at possibilities, being in the present moment with your thoughts and your actions. If you're rubbing the past, you're not at peace. If you're working too much on the future and fear, you're not in peace. Practicing the presence. There's no finer moment to feel that peace, to know that peace, than to be in that present moment of the presence of God, to let go of everything else, to be prayerful, to know that you are protected, to know that life is perpetual, eternal, to know prosperity over poverty. When our thoughts go to poverty, we're not in peace. We want something, we're afraid of something. But when we go to prosperity, we know our success comes from our thoughts and what we can do, what we can be grateful for, how we're grateful. We are not in peace when we elasticize the truth. When we make our stories a little bit more, we embellish them too much. Now, a story is a story, and it's nice to embellish, as long as we know that we're embellishing and that we don't make it into a lie. As long as the people we're embellishing it to know that we're embellishing it and we're making fun with it, then we can be in peace. Peace is not when we eliminate competition. Competition is good when it brings out the best in you. But when you stomp out something else so that you're in charge, it's not peaceful. Think about it. Is it peaceful when you're exhaling venom? Now, I tell you what, we all drive, right? If we don't drive, we're at least on the road. Is it peaceful when you say what you say to the person in the car who's just passed you and thrown mud on your window? I don't feel peaceful when I do that. Is it peaceful when you entertain evil thoughts? Now, we all have those moments. I'm not saying we're not human, we certainly do. But when we continue to entertain them instead of saying, hey, wait a minute, are we in a state of peace? When we're envious, we want something somebody else has. Are we in a state of peace? Can we recognize if we really want it, we can have it too? We don't need what somebody else has. Peace comes when we know that love envelopes us, that God is everywhere, and we are in that energy. Peace comes when we elevate a situation, when we see it from a higher level, when we feel enlightened by it. Peace comes when we enlarge what we're looking at, when we see it from a different perspective. Peace is when we're in empathy, when we can feel somebody else's needs, where we can understand at a deeper level. Peace is entertaining positive ideas, truth ideas, knowing our oneness. And peace is enjoying life, the little things, the snowflakes. I was sitting over here and in this window up here in the very top, I could see the snowflakes falling. And peace eclipses error thinking. Just like when there's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse. If you allow peace in your life, if you want peace in your life, that peace that you seek, that inner core of your being, will eclipse. any error thinking that you have, any thought that you're not good enough, that it can't happen, that love doesn't exist for you, whatever it is. Peace is our existence. We naturally are in a state of peace. So what takes our peace? Anger takes our peace. Feeling arduous with our work. I have to do this. I was talking earlier today about there was a time when I was a minister and I was over 60 and I did not have a snowblower and I was in charge of shoveling the snow for the church steps. It was hard work. Was I out there saying, thank you, God, my health allows me to do it? No, those weren't the words that were coming through my mind. I was making it hard work. Poor, pitiful me. Awfulizing takes our peace. Being afraid takes our peace. And when we are in that place, we get aggressive. And if we're aggressive, we're certainly not peaceful. We think apart instead of together. We have aversion to things. That aversion takes our peace. But when we can accept what is, we find peace. When we can become aware that there possibly is a reason for what's going on greater than what we know, we find peace. When we can be authentic about who we are and what our needs are, and when we can communicate that, we find peace. When we assert ourselves instead of hiding out and triangulate with our communication, we find peace. When we affirm the truth, we find peace. When we can become awe-inspired, realizing as we're looking at a snowflake, unless it's man-made, there are no two the same. That's awe-inspiring. When we can ascend into saying yes to peace, it shows up. When we can go higher in our thoughts, when we can be assured that God is and all is well, we are in our peace. Peace is the antidote for anything that is going wrong in our life. I could go on and I could go on. Peace just as an ending of conflict on the battlefield of life, but is the energy of belonging to a greater expression of life. Peace is the evolution of our soul. It happens in that peaceful time. I'd like to read to you from the same book, With Love at Christmas, the Advent book from Unity. One of our ministers here in this area, Reverend Matthew Long, wrote this. He said, peace is not the cessation of conflict. It is a consciousness attuned to the divine order and divine timing inherent in creation. It is the flexibility of mind and body to adjust and flow with the natural evolution of life. So how do we practice peace? We practice peace by practicing the presence of God everywhere at all times. We talked a little bit earlier about what the Advent means, and it goes through 4 weeks of preparation leading up to the idea of remembering that the Christ is born within us. And it starts off with hope and faith. You see, when we come to that point where we have the faith to know that there's peace on earth because there's peace within us, we make that next step into peace. And when we gather that peace within us and we allow it to take over us, so that we're in awe of that moment, of that peace beyond understanding, then we allow that love to show, to penetrate our shell. And then when we feel that love so much that it just exudes and radiates from us, we find our joy. So I would like to conclude with reading a poem called Of Winter's Praise by Eleanor Holbrook Zimmerman. Here in the drift of snow that mounts the fence and weighs the fir trees with a shawl of white, I think of God and his omnipotence, that from the caverns of a winter night could summon forth such beauty and such peace, shaping a winter morning with his hand, bidding a wild and stormy wind to cease, and wrapping in ermine all the waiting land. One careless step, it seems, might shatter now this crystal silence of new-fallen snow, this diamond dust that makes an empty bow glitter with wealth such as a king might show. And even a jay that startles with his blue, the glassy thicket has no word to say, but lets me pause unchallenged here to view the icy bastions of a winter day, feeling God's presence in a snowbound hill, hearing his voice that whispers, peace, be still. God bless you.